born thinking the switch only goes one way, on.
Imagine a scenario where you wake up and find out the world you once knew is now a walking cemetery. And just like other survivors of the Walking Dead universe, you ain't got a clue about what to do, where to go, or about what not to do. I'm talking about you, Shane. Which is the whole purpose of this video. We'll see if we, or rather I, can survive and make better decisions than our favorite character of The Walking Dead. One of the most overlooked Walking Dead details begin after Rick wakes up, stumbling upon a sink, where somehow after 4 to 5 weeks of the apocalypse, there still was water. Which is technically possible, but barely if Rick was in a coma for 5 weeks. Most modern cities rely on electric pumps to keep water flowing. Once the power goes out, which would likely happen pretty fast in an apocalypse, water pressure drops within a few days to a week. Hospitals usually have generators and water reserves, like gravity-fed systems or tanks. Some residual pressure could have been in the pipes also. Even if pumps failed, there would be some leftover water in the lines, enough for one last gurgle out the sink. Why am I even talking about it? Oh right, if you haven't forgotten, water is the most essential resource to have in a scenario like this. After Rick saw the disrepair of the hospital he was in, I doubt it was difficult to deduct that something really bad had happened. So maybe finding some kind of container or single-use cups, which hospitals should have plenty, and filling that shit up to the brim would not be a bad idea. Hey Rick. What? You wanna know what's more stupid than stupid? Yeah? Being a sheriff's deputy, having a militaristic approach and an analytical mindset, and at the same time going to one of the biggest cities in the US during the apocalypse without a map or a backup plan since you were already warned by Morgan.
They may not seem like much one at a time, but in a group all riled up and hungry, man, you watch your ass.
That walkers can be in large groups, and guess what happened to Ricky Dicky Doodah Grimes when he walked into a clearly abandoned city?
Sorry, Carl.
I'm sorry.
If I were Rick, it goes without saying I'd look for my family, but doing anything without a plan of action would put you in an early grave. Or not? We all know Rick gets help from Glenn, but what if Glenn didn't show up? How would Rick escape from Chieftain MK10 tank? Since we already established that Rick is
our neck deep up shit creek with our mouths wide open.
The tank Rick was in looked in perfect condition and had ammunition, so if the main cannon didn't work, I'd try one of the free machine guns Chieftain MK10 has. If that also doesn't work, then we climb out of that joint and run until we are in safety. So, after Ricky gets saved by Glenn and makes pew-pew, he gets pregnant. Pressed against the wall by our favorite character. I actually like Andrea more than Rick. Yeah, I'm not lying. Then Rick meets Merle. Although their friendship began kinda rocky, Rick managed to calmly sit Merle down and have a respectful conversation with him about his...
I'm doing stuff, Lori. Thanks.
Rick and group come up with an idea on how to escape from their tower. Which, considering Rick was just a day or two out of coma and barely had any street smarts, it was pretty impressive. But the rain begins and our two heroes have to start running. T-Dog drops the damn key and Merle stays behind while the group escapes. So by now our characters know that walkers are easily attracted by sound, and why does Glenn drive to their camp? With car alarm on, I know Glenn said he didn't know how to turn it off, but he still should have waited for the rest of the group to catch up to him so that they can turn it off. That car alarm might have been exactly what caught the walkers' attention when they attacked the camp. And after our main character finally met his favorite character Coral, we find out this lady Carol, who's a certified wolf in ship's clothing, but not at this point in the series, gets beat up by her husband Ed, which is his hobby, apparently. Next morning, after Laura told Shane they can't boink anymore, Shane decides to beat the piss
out of your mule boy.
And meanwhile, Rick breaks the news to Darnell Dixon that he left his brother on the roof.
So I can go get him.
Over the seasons, Darnell definitely had a glow up. Later in the day, Rick and a few others went to save Merle, but all they find is his hand. Could Merle have escaped without hatching his hand off? Let's think real quick. Rick cuffed him with Peerless Model 700 handcuffs and didn't use a double locking system, which means by skirming, Merle could tighten them even more. The only escape he could have tried was a shim.
Take a thin piece of metal, stainless steel, or some steel, aluminum doesn't work, and we're going to go in, we're going to go take this and stick this between the teeth and the paws right there. And that's how it's going to work. So we're going to go in, stick it in, put a little pressure on it to keep it in there. I'm going to push it in. It's in there a little bit, but not all the way, so we keep pushing. There we go. See, you can see our steel is right there between the teeth and the paws, and then we just pull it.
Did Merle have access to that? Clearly no. So after the wasted time and resources, they find out Merle stole the truck and is coming back to the camp with vengeance. But it turns out it wasn't Merle that they needed to be afraid of, but of Glenn's loud car alarm he was driving with the other day, because guess what? Walkers are attracted to sound. They shoot him up, but Jim gets bitten and Darnell was about to swing, but Ricky Dicky Doodah Grimes with Lori's sugar daddy, Shane, step in to stop him. Before we continue, I'm gonna say the obvious. Why was there nobody on the lookout? All besides, we know that walkers are attracted to light. Why risk lightning, a fire, even a small one, at night in Florida summer? Because don't forget, there are also other people to worry about. We unexpectedly cut to the CDC, where, as we find out, there is a single man left trying his research. But he is alone in the entire facility. While testing some tissue, he spills acid on it, and as a consequence, the lab's safety protocol destroys the whole thing. And just before he becomes a chronic alcoholic, our main heroes show up and ask for refuge, which was kind of dumb. Shane was right that it was getting dark and more walkers were coming their way, and there was no real way to know if anyone was even there in the first place. What I disagree on with Shane is leaving for Fort Benning, since the real location where CDC was filmed is Cobb Energy Performing Arts Center, and Fort Benning is about 125 miles away. Instead, they should have gone into their vehicles and stayed there the night as quietly as possible, and when the dawn breaks, run to the CDC and try to get their attention. If no one answers, leave. But we all know what happened, and I don't think I'd be able to do any different than Rick, although he did almost kill himself because of his own stupidity. So the CDC blows up and some characters I don't even remember the name of die, and just like that, the best season of this series has ended with our heroes gathering strength to travel to Fort Benning.